Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Dean the Turkey Legster here. In for a here to read for you some stories here on. This is actually the final edition, the final volume, um, that you will, um, um, of Storyland, and it's the last Christmas stream of Storyland and Christmas anything. The totally gonna be Christmas is totally gonna be over on the channel, um, except for a few shorts. I do have some, excuse me, of the gnomes from the Lou Gardens. I do have a few more shorts that I'll be putting up over in the next several days. But other than that, for streams, this is it for Christmas. So I'm here to kind of give one last little uh, holiday hurrah, if you will. And then we ring in the new year and charge on with whatever 2026 has to bring us. And I have talked about that. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. I am going to be live for New Year's Eve at 8 o'clock tomorrow night, New Year's Eve, as for a chat. And so hopefully you can pop in there. I'll have an open invitation for people to pop on and chat a little bit and uh, can wish each other a Merry Christmas right here on the stream. So looking forward to that tomorrow night. But tonight, um, yeah, it's um, it's time to read stories and get the last little bit of Christmas. Um, So, hello to Tina McNeil in the chat. Hello, Happy New Year, and hello, Happy New Year to Chuck as well. Robin, I Heart Disney, welcome in, and Happy New Year to you as well. And I'm sure a few more people will pop in. Um, but anyway, without delay, I guess I'll go ahead and read what I'm gonna read. I was kind of, because this is the last Christmas stories, I had to pick two. Um, I had several that I had already owned, but then um, I also ordered a couple new ones, which will be added to the lineup for next year, next Christmas. So look forward to that coming to the channel. Um, so what I'm going to do is um, I've got a couple here. So let me start with the first one. This is a book I got last year, right after the New Year's. I found it, and so I didn't read it on the channel. But this is the first story tonight, The Night Before Christmas. Classic. A classic uh, piece for this time of year. The Night Before Christmas. Here we go. Gloria Thibodeau, hello, welcome in. Merry Christmas. The Night Before Christmas. Here we are. Tim Tennessee Bear, hello, welcome in. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. One last time. One last time. Welcome in. Okay. 'Twas the night before Christmas. When all through the house Not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. Oh. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of turkey legs danced in their heads. And Mamma in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap, when out on the lawn there arose such a clutter. I went to the kitchen and had some bread and butter. Actually, no. Let's see what I thought. I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave a luster of midday to objects below. When what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. I know him. Different story. Different story. More rapid than eagles on his coursers they came. He whistled and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. No Dasher, no Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. Da 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 da. As dry leaves that before the as dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him, in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work. He filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he goes. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night. And that was the night before Christmas. No one's calling Santa a jerk. Damn, he brings me all my turkey legs. That would be very rude. It would be very rude indeed. Okay. So, mentioned earlier that I ordered a couple of new stories, which will, both of them will be in the lineup of Christmas stories next year on all of my story streams. But I want to show you, and I'm going to read one of them tonight, but I need to show you both of them because they're both new. I decided, and I realized that I didn't have these two stories. So the first one, it just came today actually, is Disney's Mickey's Christmas Carol. Mickey's Christmas Carol. Realized I did not have this one in my collection, so I ordered it. I also realized the other day that I didn't have this one. So this is the Muppet Christmas Carol. The Muppet Christmas Carol. Cherie, Surfer Girl, welcome in. So I'm trying to decide which of these I want to read tonight. I'm only going to read one. And so, really quickly, if you all want to tell me no, Mickey's or Muppets? Mickey's or Muppets? Christmas Carol. A quick little poll in the chat. I'll see what gets the most. And we'll see. You love both. Okay, Cherie. Well, So I was looking at both, and we have a vote for Mickey's Christmas Carol. So, okay, we got a vote for Muppets. Um, Someone else watching want to put in Mickey's or Muppets, A Christmas Carol. There's the back of the Muppets. And then there's the back of Mickey's. Gloria says Muppets. Okay, so we got one for Mickey's, two for Muppets. Any more votes really quickly? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, I've got two votes for Muppets and one vote for Mickey, so I will just go ahead and we're going to go with the Muppets tonight. Disney, the Muppet Christmas Carol. Tina, huh? Mark Langenkamp, hello, Happy New Year, welcome in. This is written by Brooke Vital, illustrated by Luke Flowers. No, Mark, I was taking a vote on which of the two Christmas carols that I would read, and Muppets, it was decided that Muppets would be read. So here we go. Oh, no worries, Tina. Okay, here we go. Hello, welcome to the Muppet Christmas Carol. My name is Charles Dickens, and I am Rizzo the Rat. Hey, wait a second. You're not Charles Dickens. I am too. I know the story of A Christmas Carol like the back of my hand. Prove it. There's a little mole on my thumb and not your hand. Tell us the story. The Marleys were dead to begin with, as dead as a doornail. In life, the Marleys had been business partners with a man named Ebenezer Scrooge. Scrooge was cold, greedy, and unkind. His only care in life was making money. Inside his office, Scrooge's bookkeepers shivered. They needed more coal for their fire, but Scrooge was not in a giving mood, not even on Christmas Eve. For others, Christmas was a time of joy, laughter, and charity. Yet Scrooge hated the holiday. Christmas? Bah, humbug! After Scrooge left his office for the evening, the mood brightened. His clerk, Bob Cratchit, and the bookkeepers merrily closed up the shop. They were all looking forward to their Christmas holiday. Outside, the streets were filled with the joy of the season. The Penguins were hosting their annual figure skating party. Bob had to give it a try. After a turn on the ice, Bob bid good night to the Penguins. Looking up at the moon, he smiled. It was time to go home to his family. Elsewhere in the city, Scrooge approached his own home, which had once belonged to his partners, Jacob and Robert Marley. Now, once again, I must ask you to remember that the Marleys were dead. That one thing you must remember, or nothing that follows will seem wondrous. As Scrooge bent to open his door, a cold wind began to blow. Suddenly, the door knocker transformed into the face of Jacob Marley. Scrooge cried out in shock. When he looked again, the knocker had returned to normal. Shaken, Scrooge went inside. He dressed for bed and settled down next to the fire, certain he had simply imagined the face of his departed partner. As Scrooge sat staring into the flames, the fire went out, and the spirits of Jacob and Robert Marley appeared. Oh. The Marleys showed Scrooge the chains they'd earned through their many acts of greed in life. As the Marleys howled and danced about the room, they issued Scrooge a warning. If Scrooge did not change his ways, he would end up like them. The Marleys told Scrooge that he would be haunted by three spirits. Only with the help of these spirits could he change his fate. Then, with a final rattle of their chains, the Marleys disappeared. Oh, they vanished, sorry. The Marleys' visit the Marleys' visit left Scrooge deeply unsettled. He lit a candle to ward off the darkness and got into bed. When the clock chimed 1, Scrooge awoke to a bright light filling his room. He drew back his bed curtains. Floating by his bed was a childlike spirit. I am the ghost of Christmas past. Oh. The spirit told Scrooge that she had come to save him from the Marleys' terrible fate. She offered Scrooge her hand and gestured to the world outside his suddenly open window. Scrooge hesitated to leap into thin air, but the spirit assured him that he would be safe. He took her hand and they flew out the window and into the past. Jason Thibodeau, welcome in. Happy New Year. Welcome in. Soon they arrived at Scrooge's childhood. Scrooge recognized the place at once. It was his old school, and there was his younger self. It was Christmas Eve here, too. All around, happy children were preparing to go home for the holiday. But young Scrooge had nowhere to go, no family to return to. He had to spend the holiday at school, alone. The spirit had brought Scrooge to the site of his first job, old Fozziwig's rubber chicken factory. Light and laughter poured from the building. "It's the Fozziwig annual Christmas party!" Scrooge exclaimed. Scrooge rushed inside. The factory was full of music and merriment. Everyone was enjoying the party, except young Scrooge, who was fretting over the company's finances. Young Scrooge. At the party, Scrooge watched as his younger self was introduced to a beautiful girl named Belle. It was love at first sight. But as Scrooge knew, this was not the only Christmas he had spent with Belle. Time moved forward again. Tears filled Scrooge's eyes um, as he watched Belle tell his younger self that though he claimed to have loved her, he had chosen money over her one too many times. She couldn't marry him. Scrooge begged the spirit to show him no more. Crying into his hands, Scrooge sank to the floor. The spirit in the past began to fade. When Scrooge looked up again, he was alone in his bedroom. Scrooge returned to bed, but he didn't sleep. A short while later, the clock struck 2, and light and music filled the room. A cheery face appeared in his doorway. "I am the ghost of Christmas present. Come in and know me better, man." Scrooge got out of bed. Scrooge got out of bed, sorry. The second spirit was so full of joy and warmth that Scrooge couldn't help but smile. But his smile faded as the spirit. Wow. But his smile faded as the spirit began to talk about the wonder of Christmas. Scrooge had never understood why people loved Christmas so much. "Before this day is over, you shall," said the spirit. Oh, these pages. Sorry, these pages are stuck. Okay. The spirit led Scrooge into the streets of London. Scrooge watched as people greeted each other warmly, sang carols together, and exchanged gifts. For the first time in his life, Scrooge began to understand that Christmas was a time for sharing love, and despite himself, he began to have fun. Next, the spirit brought Scrooge to the house of Bob Cratchit, Scrooge's clerk. Bob was just arriving home from church with his son, a small, frail child named Tiny Tim. Scrooge watched as Bob's wife and children rushed to greet him. He could see that the family lacked he could see that what the family lacked in money, they made up for with love. Oops. As the Cratchits sat down to dinner, Bob offered a toast to Scrooge. Mrs. Cratchit huffed. I suppose on the blessed day of Christmas one must drink to the health of Mr. Scrooge, even though he is stingy, wicked, unfeeling, and badly dressed. Tiny Tim raised his glass. God bless us, everyone. Shame filled Scrooge at the thought of how poorly he had treated Bob. The family had so little, and Tiny Tim was clearly very sick. Spirit, tell me if Tiny Tim will get better. But the spirit could not see the future. The spirit's time was the present, and that time was coming to an end. Scrooge begged the spirit to stay, but the gentle ghost had started to fade. Soon the spirit had vanished, along with the Cratchit's loving home. Scrooge found himself alone in a graveyard. Dun, 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 dun. Mist filled the graveyard, and the ghost of Christmas yet to come appeared. The third spirit scared Scrooge, but Scrooge had learned so much from the previous spirits. He was ready to learn more. Lead on, spirit, he said. In the future, Scrooge listened to several street folk merrily discussing a funeral. He watched as the mysterious dead man's belongings were given away. Fear crept into Scrooge's heart. Though Scrooge had heard no name, he felt he recognized the dead man's things. Next, the spirit had brought him to the Cratchit's house. Everything had changed. The once joyful family was now filled with grief. Scrooge understood that the worst had happened. Tiny Tim had not gotten better. Back in the graveyard, Scrooge fearfully asked the spirit whose death had caused the street folk such merriment. Lifting his hand, the spirit pointed to a gravestone. Reluctantly, Scrooge approached the stone and knelt in front of it. With shaking hands, he wiped away the frost. At the sight of his name, Scrooge burst into tears. "Oh, Spirit, no!" he cried. "Please, I'm a changed man." Begging for a second chance, Scrooge fell to his knees. Wait, hold on. Begging for a second chance, Scrooge fell to his knees and into his own bed. Scrooge looked up. He was back in his bedroom. "I'm home! It's a miracle!" Yay! Joyfully, Scrooge threw open his window. "You there, boy! What's today?" "Today? It's Christmas Day!" Scrooge couldn't believe it. He'd been given a second chance to show the world he was a changed man. Filled with gratitude, he decided to surprise the Cratchits with a delicious Christmas dinner. Scrooge made his way through the city, giving gifts and smiles to all he passed. His joy was contagious, and he soon found himself followed by a huge crowd of merrymakers. Soon Scrooge arrived at the Cratchits' house. He gestured to the crowd to hide, then knocked on the Cratchits' front door. The Cratchits opened their door to find Scrooge scowling on their doorstep. They thought Bob's boss had come to yell at him for missing work on Christmas Day. Mrs. Cratchit couldn't hold back. She jumped in front of her husband, ready to give Scrooge a piece of her mind. She stopped when she saw the crowd of merry Londoners standing behind Scrooge, their hands full of more presents and food than she or Bob had ever seen. Scrooge stepped forward, an enormous smile on his face. "Bob Cratchit, would you and your family care to join us for a little turkey dinner on this fine Christmas Day?" So from that day on, Scrooge became as good a friend, as good a boss, and as good a man as London had ever had. To Tiny Tim, who did get better, Scrooge became like a second father, and it was always said of Scrooge that he knew how to keep Christmas well. And so, as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us, everyone. The end. And that is the end of The Muppet Christmas Carol. Love it! So you will hear that again next Christmas. It's going in the collection. Well, that does it for the stories tonight. And that does it for all the Christmas stories this season. Hope you've enjoyed all the stories that I've brought to the channel, including all of the Peanuts countdown stories. Robert, welcome in. Hello. And Happy New Year. So, in addition to that, this is also the final Storyland. I announced it on my last stream on Saturday. That Storyland is being retired. The name is, and when the stream comes back, the show, it will be Once Upon a Turkey Leg, as it was before the summer when I took it on a hiatus. And so it's coming back, Once Upon a Turkey Leg, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Comes back January the 15th. So make plans to come and hear the stories that I have to read for you on that stream. All right, guys, so that's going to do it. Thanks for joining. Dave Stragan, hello, welcome in, and Happy New Year as well. Speaking of Happy New Year, as I said, I will be live tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Julie Gerbil, welcome in, hello. Happy New Year. So tomorrow I will be live again for New Year's Eve. I am going to be doing a rather bold and daring, gutsy thing. I will be putting the StreamYard link in the chat at the beginning of the stream. So be on the channel in the chat so that you can click that before it disappears in the chat. And you'll have a chance to click on and join the stream. So that is open to all. If there's enough of a response, I may need to cycle through the guests, but that will be in the chat right before I go live at 8 o'clock. So that you can take a couple minutes to anyway, that's tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. And with that, that does it for this edition of Storyland. So guys, for the very last time, Merry Christmas. I'll see you on the next stream here. And I look forward to coming back under Once Upon a Turkey Leg. And then, of course, all my other streams I have coming up in the new year. Um, so take care, guys. Have a gobbletastic night, and I'll see you next time. So take care, guys.